morning, children. How are you? Today we're going to talk about the story of the prodigal son. I'm going to read you guys this story. So Jesus was a wonderful storyteller. His stories were called parables, and they were filled with important lessons. Whenever Jesus spoke, people gathered to hear him. Sometimes these were people who had made mistakes or who had broken Jewish laws. Some were not even Jews, but Jesus welcomed them all. One day, some Pharisees and teachers of the Jewish laws stopped to listen. But when they saw who Jesus was talking to, they were shocked. "Jesus is talking to a bunch of sinners," one of them whispered. "Doesn't he know that these people are up to no good?" said another. "They say he even eats with them," whispered still another. Well, Jesus overheard the Pharisees and the teachers of the law. He turned to them and began to tell a story. "Once there was a man who had 2 sons," Jesus began. "The older son was devoted to his father and worked very hard on the family's land. But the younger son loved adventure. He was eager to explore the world and all that it had to offer. One day, the younger son went to his father and said, 'Someday, part of all this land will be mine. Why should I have to wait years to get it? I want my share now.' Well, the father was hurt by his son's words, but he wanted the boy to be happy. Sadly, he divided up all of his land and his wealth. Then he gave the younger son his share of the family fortune. Just a few days later, the younger son sold everything he had been given. Then he took the money and left his father's home. The boy traveled to a faraway country where he began to live like a king. He spent his money freely, buying rich foods and gifts. He quickly made lots of new friends. There were many parties where they laughed all through the night. But soon, the boy's money was all gone. When his friends found out, they quickly disappeared too. He lost his house and all of his things. Soon, he found himself homeless with nowhere to go. Worst of all, there was a famine in the land. Food and jobs were very hard to find. At last, he found a job feeding pigs. By this time, he was so hungry that he even thought about eating the pigs' food. As he lay in the fields one day, watching the pigs eat, he began to dream of home. "No one goes hungry in my father's house," he thought. "Even the servants had plenty to eat. That's it," he said, staggering to his feet. "I will go home to my father. I am not worthy of being called his son anymore, but maybe he will let me be one of his servants." So the boy left the field and started the long journey home. One day, the father was staring down the road when he saw someone coming. There was something very familiar about that person. Suddenly, the father shouted with joy and rushed down to meet him. It was his younger son. He ran to the boy and put his arms around him. The son held up his hands in protest. "Father, I'm not good enough to," he tried to say, but his father wouldn't listen. Instead, he shouted for the servants to come and see his son. "Bring out my best robe and put it on my son," he told them excitedly, "and get a ring for his hand and bring some sandals for his feet." Arm in arm, the two walked toward the house. The father was still happily shouting out orders. "Go and prepare our best calf. We are going to have a feast," he said. "My son was dead to me, but now he lives again. He was lost, but now he is found." Now the older son had been working hard in the fields all day. As he trudged home, he heard the sounds of laughter, music, and dancing. He stopped one of the servants and asked, "What is this celebration for?" "We are celebrating the return of your brother. He has come home," she told him. When he heard this, the older brother was furious. He refused to go inside to the party. His father came out to reason with him, but the older son was still angry. "All of these years I have worked for you," he said. "I have done everything you have asked, and you would not even let me have a small party with my friends. My brother wasted everything you gave him. But as soon as he comes home, you have a huge feast for him." "Son, you have always been with me," said his father. "Everything that I have is yours. But we must celebrate your brother's return. It is as if he were dead, and now he is alive again. He was lost, but now he is found." When Jesus finished his story, he said, "This forgiving Father is like God. When you return to God, he welcomes you back with open arms and celebration. I tell you, there is more joy in the angels of God over one sinner who repents than over 99 who need no repentance."